What's up, guys? We're down here in Arizona and we're checking out a few vehicles, and the first one is a 2003 Ford Expedition with a P0171 with a 174 not far behind. What I want to show you today is exactly how to diagnose why the lean codes are happening. They could happen because of a skewed sensor, vacuum leaks, or fuel quality and quantity. So what I'm going to show you today is exactly how to differentiate between the two so you know where to test next. There's no reason to start spraying and checking for vacuum leaks if the issue is fuel related. So I'll show you exactly what to look for in the freeze frame data and the live data, and that'll tell you a lot as to what to go for next. Now, I don't have a lot of tools down here to go any further with the diagnosis, but like I said, you could do a lot of diagnosis with the scan tool by itself, and I'll show you so you guys can do it too.
Okay, so we already know it has lean codes in it, so we'll come back to that later. I'll show you a little bit more about that and the freeze frame data. What I want to show you right now is the PIDs to pick to watch and monitor live data from the PCM. And these will tell you everything you need to know about the fuel trims and the lean condition you may be having. So we'll go in there, we'll bring up the PID list here. Let's see what we got. There's going to be a lot of them, but this is the Ford scan tool, so it's going to show every one of them there available. The ones you want is barrel frequency. That's a big telltale if the mass airflow sensor is skewed. Then, of course, you want to look at MAF sensor voltage. That's the easiest way to tell if the MAF sensor is reading correctly or not, causing the fuel trims to be calculated incorrectly. Of course, long-term fuel trims and short-term for both banks, or a single bank if you have a inline four-cylinder. Where's the short terms? Always miss these. Short. Where? Okay, right there. And also, what you want to look at is the upstream O2 sensor to make sure they're switching and switching properly. And you can get into more advanced testing with these if you suspect there's intake leaks. You can kind of watch these and spray with carb cleaner and everything else. But for right now, we're just going to watch live data and see what's going on right now from a cold start. And that's the other thing you want to do is monitor from a cold start so you can tell if there's any kind of intake gaskets issues or otherwise. So these are the basic PIDs right here that I have picked out that you want to monitor and make sure that they're reading correctly and responding correctly, and that'll tell you what's going on as far as your lean condition, and it'll help tremendously in diagnosing without ever going under the hood.
Okay, at this point, the truck has ran for maybe 30 seconds to a minute now, and you can see our long-term fuel trims are within spec, especially when you add the long terms to the short terms. We're coming out right around a 0, and the O2 sensors are switching just fine. So this could have been an issue with bad gas, and once you have bad gas in there, it'll basically cause this issue because it's watered down, or whatever the issue is, the contamination or the potency of the gas will actually cause it to appear to run lean because there's too much oxygen left over sending downstream there. And that's what O2 sensors check. They check for the amount of oxygen. They don't check anything else. So our barrel was within range. Our short terms are switching around 0. 3, 4, 5, 6, and the same thing up here. So you can see, add the long term and the short term together, and you're gonna come around 0 there, and we're switching perfectly. Look at that. So what we'll do is we'll clear the memory on the PCM and then monitor it from that point on out. I'm also gonna check the freeze frame data to see when this happened down here. Alright, back over here to the freeze frame data. This is very useful to tell you exactly what conditions they set the code under. So you can get a lot of information over here as to what the problem was. So basically, there's a high load.
because they were into the throttle. The coolant temp was fine. We're in closed loop, perfect. Short term for number 1 was okay, and number 2 was, but the long term's way out there. See that? So at speed and at a higher RPM, where's the RPM at? 2600, and we're lean. As you can see here, that's generally not caused by a any kind of vacuum leak in the system. That is an issue with fuel quality or fuel quantity causing the issue. So everything else on here looks good. TP's right. O2s don't tell me much. But you can see right there, look at that. They were into the throttle and the fuel trim skyrocketed. It was starving for fuel. Okay, so we're going to go in here and clear the cam. We'll start fresh this way. Ignition off. Ignition on. Alright. Now we'll go back to the data on here, which is over here. And we'll watch it. This is starting off fresh right here. You can see what it does, what it figures out from a cold start. All the old values it's learned is gone. It's learning fresh, and we'll see what it does. So our long terms will sit tight until the short terms figure out what's going on. And you can see, they're hovering right around 0. 2-3%, that's absolutely perfect. O2 is switching perfectly. So that means the long terms are going to stay basically where they're at because the short terms are handling the situation. And that's the easiest way to explain long and short terms on there. Once the idle goes down, I can check the mass airflow sensor voltage. Should be around 0.7 to 0.8 volts, and that varies on engine and year, so I'll have to go look that up, make sure. But right now you can just tell at 1 volt at 1000 RPM about, it's definitely not skewed in any way, and we're just sitting here switching, which is perfect. So we definitely have a fuel issue just based on that freeze frame data and the fact that from a cold start, we don't have an issue. I mean, you could differentiate which is which that easy. Now in this particular instance, what we're going to do is change the fuel filter, and we're going to put in BG44K for 2 consecutive tankfuls. And what that'll do is it'll clean the intake valves, the injectors, and any kind of carbon on top of the cylinders themselves. I really don't think it's a fuel delivery issue as far as the pump failing, because it's not common on gasoline powered vehicles on the Ford lineup anyway. So that's the next course of action on here. Okay, so that's it. Sorry the video is so short, but I have no other tools down here, so I'm kind of dead in the water as far as testing any further on this vehicle. But hopefully you got a little something out of this video on how to differentiate between fuel quality and quantity causing lean codes, or is it a vacuum leak causing lean codes. Once you get above 2500 RPM like that, your throttle plate's so far open that it actually equals out to the atmosphere. So any kind of vacuum leaks are taken out of the equation, and we know it's a fuel quality and quantity issue at that point. Also, we can see the O2 sensors come alive right away, and on the scan tool we can see that, and they respond right away, and they're switching absolutely perfectly. So it's not an O2 sensor either that's causing an issue, and of course O2 sensors are individual per bank, and both banks have the issue. So it's something that's in common, right? So obviously it's the fuel pressure or it's the fuel quality. That's how easy it can be to diagnose something like this.